Hi everybody and welcome back to the Tasting Room. Well folks, it's that time again. My collection of empty bottles is growing, so it's time to film another empties video. Hope you enjoy. You know folks, this summer has been hot where I live, and I've not so much been in the mood to just sit around and sip whiskey. That's more of a cooler weather thing for me. So I've been making a lot of cocktails recently. So I thought we'd start off with some cocktail bourbons. Things I've been using in old fashions and whatnot. So first off here, I got a bottle of Bulleit bourbon. Never been a huge fan of Bulleit myself, just for sipping, but it does have a nice, strong punch to it. You know, it's got a nice big rye spice, and it stands up well in a cocktail. So that's primarily what I've used this Bulleit for. And if you have a bottle lying around, that's what I recommend you use it for as well. Next up, another cocktail bourbon, Four Roses. It's another one I've never been a fan of straight, and due to the low proof of it, I mean this one's only 80 proof. It's bottled at the bare minimum. So I mean if I have a bottle around, like I happen to have a bottle laying around, it will go in a cocktail, but it's not going to be my first choice. I'm always looking for something with a little bit more punch, a little bit more, a little bit higher test that'll stand up to to ice. And a 40% alcohol Four Roses bourbon just doesn't quite do it for me. It's I mean it's an okay table bourbon on a budget, but it's just not my first choice. You know, probably not going to end up repurchasing Four Roses bourbon. At least the flagship, anyway. I mean, to come out with something crazy, we'll give it a shot. But last up for the cocktail bourbons is Wild Turkey 101, old standby for me. Good bold flavor. Can't say anything bad about Wild Turkey. Next bourbon I have here is an Elijah Craig small batch. It's a 94 proof. It's a this is a nice bourbon. You know, I mean, it's the price point is not too bad if I'm not mistaken. And I want to say it's usually in the mid $30 range, and it's good. I think it's made by Heaven Hill if I'm not mistaken, and it's a great sipping bourbon. To finish up the bourbons, straight from Bardstown, one of my favorite places on earth. A couple bottles of very Old Barton. An Empties video wouldn't be complete without them. I've got here 200 proof bottles and one 80 proof. I do maintain for very Old Barton that they have four expressions. They've got an 80 proof, an 86, a 90, and a 100 proof. And that's just in the very Old Barton. And they also have their Barton 1792 series. But as far as very Old Barton is concerned, I maintain that the quality gets better the higher the proof. And the bottled in bond 100 proof version here is just a fantastic bourbon for $13. You can't beat it. I go through. I mean, this is my table bourbon here. You know, it's a great quality. It's cheap. You can't go wrong. Before we leave Kentucky, I do have a Russell's Reserve 6-year-old rye from the makers of Wild Turkey. Jimmy Russell, the master distiller, if you couldn't get that from the name. Jimmy and son Eddie. Just great rye. Again, I don't think I've ever had anything that I didn't like from Wild Turkey. Good stuff. The next one up is actually, it's another bourbon, but this one is from Tennessee. This is Belle Meade Tennessee bourbon, or sour mash whiskey. And I will say they do make a good sipping bourbon there. Price point's a little bit high for what I typically like. Boy, I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but I want to say you'll end up paying about in the $50 range for their bourbon. And then they do have a cask finish series that I went through as well for their They do an XO cognac barrel. They do Madeira cask, a sherry cask. And those ones, they're also pretty good. I don't remember caring too much for the cognac finish, but the sherry, the Madeira, those I remember being pretty good. But again, $80 for a bottle on that, and it's just, yeah, that hurts the pocketbook a little bit. But this one here, a little bit more reasonable in the price range, but pretty good bourbon there they make here in Tennessee. Alright folks, so next up, did I mention it's been really, really hot this summer? I've been going through a whole lot of gin, drinking a whole lot of gin and tonics and martinis. Again, you know, that's just a great warm weather drink. And in fact, I'm drinking some gin right now. This is it's a rye barrel aged gin. This one from Rabbit Hole. If you want to watch the review on that one, it's there. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get the first set of gins up here. There we go. So we have emptied 3 bottles of St. George gin. They make just some phenomenal gin over there. They have 3 expressions of gin that I know of, St. George. They've got the terroir, which I don't have here. I have a feeling that that's just a very specific flavor that you need to acquire and a taste for. I mean, that one is, I've heard it described as a forest in a glass. I did do a review on it some time ago. I had a little 3, they sell a little 3-pack of these little 200 milliliter bottles, and just so I could try each one of them. And that terroir was something else. But a great one they have here is the Dry Rye gin. This one, very tasty, great in a martini. But my favorite of the 3 is definitely the Botanivore. Just ton of botanicals, ton of flavor in this gin. Works just fantastic in a martini. I wouldn't even put this in a gin and tonic normally. Unless this is just the last thing I have on hand and I'm really in the mood for a gin and tonic. I've done it before, but it's usually in the mid-30s price range, and you know, again, if I'm going to go with a gin and tonic, I'll usually use something like Bombay, just because the price point's a little bit better, and it's a little more neutral of a flavor. It doesn't taste quite as luxurious as this does. This is some good stuff. If you've never tried it and you're a gin drinker, go out and purchase some Botanivore. Fantastic. So next up, as promised, I've got some Bombay and some Bombay Sapphire, big brother here. For me, it just depends on the price point. Sometimes the regular Bombay is a little bit cheaper, but if they're all the same price, then I'm always going with the Sapphire every time. Just a great standby gin. You know, nothing over the top special about it, but I mean, it's a good quality. It's got good flavor. It works well in a martini. It works great in a gin and tonic or any other mixed gin drink you can think of. And as long as they keep selling it for a ridiculously low price, I will keep buying it. You know, I've got a couple of sizes here. Usually the smaller bottle is going for somewhere in the neighborhood of $20, and a lot of times you'll be able to find the large, the 1.75 liter bottle here for like $28, $29 in that range. So I mean, when it's that price, there's no point to buying something this size. I mean, you get more than double the gin for just a few dollars more. I love that pricing model. So next up, this one was actually a barrel-aged gin. I know you can't tell now, but this was aged in okay, it wasn't ex-bourbon barrels, just finished in American oak barrels. So I don't think it was in an ex bourbon or any kind of ex whiskey cask. Just a probably aged like a bourbon in a new oak cask. If I remember correctly, this one did have a fairly rich color for a barrel aged gin. And I was pleasantly surprised by this one. This is it's a Pennsylvania gin. It's 94 proof, which is perfect proof for a gin. And I enjoyed sipping on this one. I didn't put this in any mixed drinks because I feel like it had enough flavor on its own, just like this rye barrel aged gin that I'm drinking right now. Just drinking it neat because it's got that extra kick of flavor from the barrel. It's a cocktail in a bottle as far as I'm concerned. So it's good. I just discovered barrel aged gins a couple years ago, and if you're looking for something a little bit different, you like a gin, you like a whiskey, but maybe it's just a little too hot to drink whiskey, give a barrel aged gin a try. All right, the next one here is the Revivalist. It's another one from Pennsylvania, by the way. It's the Revivalist Summertide gin. So they have 5 expressions of gin. They've got one, I think it's called Dragon Dance, which is made with peppers, and then they have their other 4 are just for each of the seasons. So this is their summertime one, and each of them has different botanicals, different for different flavor profiles. I'll try to link the video right up here, the review of this one here. So I can't quite remember all the tasting notes in it. I want to say it was floral. It probably had some aniseed, maybe some citrus in there, but. I do enjoy their gins. The Revivalist here. I think it's the Brandywine Ranch Distillery that makes these. Again in Chester County, Pennsylvania. Good stuff. Okay, and then the last of the gins. I know you're sad. This one is from the Isle of Islay in Scotland. The Botanist. And this is just I love this gin. This one rivals the St. George Botanivore for my favorite gin of all time. Most gins are made with 8 or 9 different botanicals. This one is made with 30, and 22 of them come from the Isle of Islay. This one's going to run you a little bit more money. It's typically closer to the $40 range. But, so I won't buy it all the time, but it's great for a treat, if you've got a little extra money in your pocket, you're feeling fancy, and you want a great gin for your martini tonight, good stuff. Okay, before we leave Scotland here, we've got a couple of Scotch whiskies here. This is the Glengarry. Yes, I'm saying that right. It reads like Glen Garioch, but no, it's pronounced Glengarry. This one was the 12-year-old. A buddy of mine, Sheldon, recently introduced me to the Glengarry whiskeys, and I will say I'm grateful. They're very nice. Not something I'm going to go out and keep restocking and restocking and restocking. Every time I go through a bottle, but I am always on the lookout for new expressions. They do a nice job. So speaking of restocking, this is one that I will typically keep on hand. I've always liked this whiskey here. This is the Auchentoshan 3-Wood. Another Scotch whiskey. And as you can gather from the name, this one's been aged in 3 separate casks. This is North American Oak, Oloroso Sherry, and Pedro Jimenez Sherry. Just remarkable flavor, great whiskey. This next one here, the Balvenie Doublewood, 12-year-old. This is another one I just keep repurchasing and repurchasing and repurchasing. I always have a bottle on hand. more sentimental for me, maybe, because I think this was my first Scotch whiskey, and you know, I didn't like it the very first time I had it, but after by the end of that bottle, I loved it, and this is double wood. It's aged in whiskey oak and sherry oak. So again, expertly named. You know, delicious. You know, this is really a very good starter whiskey. You know, I mean, or rather a starter Scotch. If you're just getting into Scotch whiskey, I turned a number of people on to the wonderful world of Scotch by starting them with the Balvenie Doublewood. The price range is not horrible. It's you're in the $50 range. So you really can't go wrong. You're not really going to find a decent Scotch under $40. So, I mean, pay that extra $10, grab a bottle of the Balvenie Doublewood, and just enjoy the journey. So the last empty bottle I have for you in the Scotch family here is the Glenfiddich Project 20, pardon me. And this one here is, they started doing this experimental series a couple years ago when a lot of the distilleries were doing it. They started out with the IPA cask. Their second project was this Project 20 here, and I can't remember the premise. I think they took like from around the world. They took 20 master something. And let them have free run of the rick house and mix and match barrels and just come up with the ultimate, you know, marriage of flavors. And they came up with this, and I like it because for me it's the smell, the taste, it's autumn in a glass. And I know I've said that 1,000 times talking about this Project 20 here. But that's what it is to me. Autumn is my favorite season. It's my favorite time of the year, and this just reminds me of autumn. So I keep repurchasing it. I love it, and I will keep repurchasing it until there's no more. We're getting near the end, folks, I promise. Last up, we've got a few tequilas. Got 2 bottles of the Hornitos here, one Anejo, one Reposado. I keep buying these because the price point is right. It's about $20 a bottle, give or take maybe $1 in either direction, depending on whether you're buying the Reposado, the Anejo, or the unaged version, which is useless to me. But it's great for sipping. It's great for margaritas. It's cheap enough where you don't feel bad putting it in a margarita, and it's high quality enough where you're not getting super hangover if you're drinking Jose Cuervo all night. So this one checks all the boxes on the scorecard, and I will keep buying it. Last one I have for you today, folks, is another Reposado tequila. This is Casa Noble. I don't quite remember what I rated this one. I want to say it was in the decent quality range. What did I pay for this one? Probably mid to upper 30s. So with that said, I'm probably not going to repurchase it just because I know of so many tequilas that are cheaper that I like better. Not that this one was bad by any stretch, but it didn't blow me away. That's all. And that's it, folks. That's all the empty bottles I had to share with you today. If you stuck it out until the end of this video, God knows how long this video is going to be when editing is all said and done. But if you stuck with me to the end, then kudos to you. You deserve a drink. I'd pour you one, but they're all empty. In the meantime, I'll have to go buy some more. So please, if you can, join me this Saturday for when we pick up the whiskey reviews. If you're not already a member to my channel, please go ahead and hit that button and subscribe, and then after you do, ding that little bell next to the subscribe button. Make sure you get notifications of new videos that come out. I try to put one out every weekend, and I would sure hate for you to miss one. So go ahead and do that for me, and I will see you again next week right here on The Tasting Room.